The woods change when the sun goes down. Most hunters pride themselves on being the apex predator in the forest. But sometimes you realize you aren't the only one out there with a tag to fill. These are 3 allegedly true hunting horror stories. Hunting is usually a lesson in silence. My name is Sarah, and back in 2019, I was tracking elk in a remote pocket of the Bitterroot Wilderness in Montana. I was with my cousin Marcus. Marcus is one of those guys who could find a needle in a haystack if the needle smelled like cedar. We'd split up around 3 p.m. The plan was simple. I'd take the high ridge, he'd work the draw below, and we'd meet at the lightning tree, a charred pine we used as a landmark right at dusk. Around 4:30, the wind died completely. It was that heavy, suffocating kind of quiet where you can hear your own heartbeat in your ears. I was glassing a clearing when I heard it.
Sarah, over here.
It was Marcus. His voice came from a dense thicket of mountain laurel about 50 yards down the slope. It sounded off, like he was shouting through a PVC pipe. Marcus, I called back, keeping my voice low so as not to spook any nearby game. Did you find a blood trail?
Sarah, over here. Come look.
I started heading down. But as I got closer, a cold knot began to tighten in my stomach. Marcus never calls me Sarah. To him, I've been Bear since I was 6 years old. I stopped 10 feet from the edge of the laurel. Marcus, say my nickname. Silence. The woods felt like they were holding their breath. Then, the voice came again. But this time, it wasn't Marcus. It was my voice. Marcus? Did you find a blood trail? It was an exact, digital, perfect recording of what I had said 30 seconds ago. The same inflection, the same hushed tone. My skin crawled. I didn't wait. I didn't look. I shouldered my rifle and I bolted back up that ridge like my life depended on it. When I reached the lightning tree, Marcus was already there, looking pale. "Did you hear me calling you?" he asked, his voice shaking. "I heard something," I said. "I heard you," he whispered. "You were screaming for help down in the draw." But the voice, it sounded like it was being played through a broken speaker. We hiked out in the dark, back to back, with our headlamps on high. Whatever was in that laurel wasn't a hunter, and it wasn't an animal. It was something that had learned how to bait us. In 2021, I leased a small plot of private land in northern Pennsylvania for deer season. It was perfect. Thick hardwoods, a bubbling creek, and no neighbors for miles. I had a permanent wooden box stand built about 12 feet up in an old oak tree. I'd spent the summer prepping it, sealing the windows, putting in a carpet scrap to dampen noise, and leaving a heavy camouflage tarp over the seat. Opening morning, I hiked in at 4:30 a.m. It was pitch black and freezing. I climbed the ladder, my boots clanking softly on the metal rungs. I reached the trap door, pushed it open, and stepped inside the box. The first thing I noticed was the smell. It wasn't the smell of damp wood or deer urine. It was copper. Coppery and sweet. Like rotting fruit mixed with pennies. I reached for my headlamp, but before I could click it on, I felt a hand brush against my calf. I froze. My heart hit my ribs so hard it hurt.
Is it time?
The voice was a dry, raspy whisper. It came from the corner of the stand, right where the seat should have been. I fumbled for my light and clicked it on. There, huddled under my camouflage tarp, was a man. He was terrifyingly thin. His skin looked like gray parchment stretched over a skull. But it was his clothes that made me want to vomit. He had sewn dozens of dried deer ears, hundreds of them, onto a tattered trench coat. He wasn't holding a gun. He was holding a rusted pair of garden shears.
The harvest!
He croaked, looking at my ears. I didn't think. I didn't even grab my rifle, which I'd leaned against the wall. I threw myself backward out of the trapdoor. I fell the 12 feet straight to the forest floor, landing hard on my shoulder. The pain was white hot, but the adrenaline was stronger. I scrambled up and looked at the stand. The man was leaning out of the window. He wasn't jumping after me. He was just watching. In the beam of my falling headlamp, I saw him put a finger to his lips. "Shh," he hissed.
You'll spook them.
I ran 3 miles to my truck. When the police went back the next day, the stand was empty. My rifle was still there, but the bolt had been removed and taken. They found a nest under the floorboards of the stand. Scraps of meat, human hair, and a journal filled with sketches of me, taken from the bushes while I had been scouting months prior. He hadn't just stumbled into my stand. He had been waiting for me to arrive. This happened to my friend Elena, but I was on the radio with her when it started. We were hog hunting on a massive ranch in South Texas. If you've never been, it's a labyrinth of mesquite brush and cactus where everything wants to poke, sting, or bite you. Elena was set up in a tripod stand, basically a chair on 3 long legs, overlooking a feeder about half a mile from my position. Since it was night, we were both using thermal optics and red dot lights. Around 11 p.m., my radio crackled.
Hey, Jen. Did you bring a drone?
No, I replied. Why?
There's a red light.
Elena said. Her voice sounded tight.
It's hovering about 100 yards out in the brush. It's not moving like a flashlight. It's too steady.
I looked through my thermal scope toward her direction. I couldn't see a light, but I saw her heat signature sitting in the tripod. I don't see it, Elle. Maybe it's a ranch hand?
It just multiplied.
She whispered.
Now there are 3. They're forming a triangle around my stand.
I started to get worried. I climbed down from my stand and started walking toward her. Stay on the radio. I'm coming to get you.
Jen, they aren't lights.
The radio went silent for 10 seconds. Then,
I put my thermal on them. They're cold. They show up as black voids in the scope, but I can see the red glow with my naked eye. They're moving closer. They're floating about 6 feet off the ground.
I picked up the pace, jogging through the thorns.
Fire a warning shot, Elena. Now.
I heard the crack of her, 308 inches the distance. Did they move? I yelled into the radio.
No,
She sobbed.
they didn't even flinch. Jen, they're at the base of the tripod. The whole stand is shaking. Something is climbing the legs.
I reached the clearing and swung my spotlight around. The beam hit Elena's tripod. She was huddled in the chair, aiming her rifle at the floor of the stand. There were no red lights, no drones, no people. But the tripod was swaying violently, as if 3 grown men were grabbing the legs and trying to tip it over. I fired a shot into the air and screamed. The swaying stopped instantly. Elena practically fell down the ladder and ran into my arms. We didn't look back. We left her rifle, her gear, and the cooler right there. The next morning, we returned with the ranch owner. The tripod was still standing, but the metal legs made of heavy-duty steel were twisted. Not bent, twisted. Like someone had taken a wet towel and wrung it out. And around the base of the stand, in the soft Texas dirt, no footprints. Just 3 perfectly circular holes burned deep into the earth, still radiating a faint, pulsing heat. Even the darkest stories leave something behind. Stay with me. There are more stories.